Hey booktubers, and welcome back to my channel. And if you're new here, welcome. Today I'm very excited because I'm going to do a book review on one of the best books I think I have ever read in my entire life. It is a literary masterpiece, and rightly so. This book, of course, is A Tree Grows in Brooklyn by Betty Smith. I absolutely devoured this book. I loved every second of reading it. I couldn't wait to get home from work to read it. I read it on my lunchtime. This book has stayed with me, and I expect it will always be with me. I will definitely reread it. This book takes place in the early 1900s in Williamsburg, Brooklyn. The main character is Francie Nolan. She starts off the book when she's 11 years old and then takes you all the way through till she's 17 years old. The story is about her life, her family, her brother Neely, her mom Katie, and her father Johnny, and her aunts and her uncles and her grandmother. They are a very poor family living in Williamsburg, and her mom is a janitress in 3 tenement buildings, including their own, that she cleans. Her father is a singing waiter on the weekends, but he is also an alcoholic, and he cannot be trusted to provide for the family. So her mom literally works her fingers to the bone to provide for her children. And this book is seen through the eyes of Francie, who so wants to have a good life and so wants to be educated. She has a great love of reading at a very early age, which I can so identify with. She goes to the library every week and takes out a new book. Her hope is to make it through the whole library. She wants to start at the beginning and read her way through the end of the library. She talks about how she walks in the library and describes in such detail, like a brown bowl that's in the library with different flowers, and she describes the flowers in great detail. And she loves that every time she comes in the library, there's different flowers in that bowl. And she describes how she loves to read and how she goes to the different shops in the neighborhood and describes that in such detail. Her and her brother will collect junk and bring it to, there's a guy in the neighborhood who buys junk off, the children will bring junk there for money. And she describes the penny candy store where she gets her candy, and she takes her bag of candy up to the fire escape and reads her books up there. And she talks about the tree, hence the title, that grows in the neighborhood. They call it the tree of heaven, and it grows in all the tenements, anywhere in the sidewalks. And it's the only bit of nature that Francie can experience, and she loves this tree. And the story is of great hope. She never loses hope, and she has such perseverance in this book. She is one of my favorite characters in a book. She knows that she's not like the other children, and that she doesn't have as nice of clothes as they do, and she doesn't have the family life that they have. Some of the children around her are as poor as her, but many of them aren't, and she knows that, and she always feels like she's not as good as those other children. But she has fierce determination, and takes after her mom with that. Her mom is very driven to do better for her children, and her mom is not very demonstrative with her feelings for her children, but she does love them very deeply. And Francie in this book feels like her mom favors her brother, but she doesn't, but she feels that way and mentions it many times in the book. She has a very strong bond with her father. She's closer to her father, but the times that she can be with him are always spoiled by his drinking. So she comes to gain great respect for her mom, seeing how hard she works. And she learns very early on that she's going to have to get an education in order to get out of her world that she's in and to be successful. And she's so afraid that she's going to have to quit school in this book in order to provide for her family, because it becomes, very hard for her mom to do this all by herself. Again, because she can't rely on her father because of his drinking habits. So the world that she lives in you know, you really feel like you're in this time period, the way she describes everything. And there's really a sense of community among the neighbors and everybody in this neighborhood. But there's also a lot of grit, a lot of darkness in this book too. There is mention of a stillborn baby. There is a pedophile in the book. There's alcoholism. There's hunger and despair. But there's also great joy and hope in this book, and that's what I love the most about it. I found myself just, you know, I couldn't wait to continue reading this book, and in fact, when I was finished with it, I savored the last couple of pages. You know, it's one of those books where you just don't want it to end. So I so enjoyed this book, and what's great about this book is in the back of it, it's got a little mini biography written a couple of pages by Betty Smith's daughter, and she talks about how hard her mother worked and how she loved her craft so much and worked so hard at it. She remembers her mom always at the typewriter when she got up in the morning and the house would be freezing, but her mother was so focused on her work that she didn't go in the back and get wood to heat the house. And she'd come into the kitchen and her mother would be at the kitchen table with her typewriter and a cigarette hanging out of her mouth. And in fact, when Harper called her mother to tell them they were going to publish A Tree in Brooklyn, they were so poor they couldn't afford a phone, and they had to call on a neighbor's phone to tell her that, and I love that. It's just a wonderful book, and I definitely will read it again. I think it should be required reading in every school. And you know, I can't say enough about this book. I just love it. In fact, I wanted to read you the very beginning pages of this book because it sucked me in right away, and it will to you too. The writing is just gorgeous in this book. She says, serene was a word you could put to Brooklyn, New York, especially in the summer of 1912. Somber a word was better, but it did not apply to Williamsburg, Brooklyn. Prairie was lovely, and Shenandoah had a beautiful sound, but you couldn't fit those words into Brooklyn. Serene was the only word for it, especially on a Saturday afternoon in summer. Late in the afternoon, the sun slanted down into the mossy yard belonging to Francie Nolan's house and warmed the worn wooden fence. Looking at the shafted sun, Francie had that same fine feeling that came when she recalled the poem they recited in school. This is the forest primeval, the murmuring pines and the hemlocks, bearded with moss and in garments green, instinctive in the twilight, stand like druids of elves. The one tree in Francie's yard was neither a pine nor a hemlock. It had pointed leaves which grew along green switches which radiated from the bough and made a tree which looked like a lot of open green umbrellas. Some people called it the tree of heaven. No matter where its seed fell, it made a tree which struggled to reach the sky. It grew in boarded up lots out of neglected rubbish heaps, and it was the only tree that grew out of cement. It grew lushly, but only in the tenement districts. You took a walk on a Sunday afternoon and came to a nice neighborhood, very refined. You saw a small one of these trees through the iron gate leading to someone's yard, and you knew that soon that section of Brooklyn would get to be a tenement district. The tree knew. It came there first. Afterward, poor foreigners seeped in, and the quiet old brownstone houses were hacked up into flats. Feather beds were pushed out of the window sills to air, and the tree of heaven flourished. That was the kind of tree it was. It liked poor people. I love this book. I love the writing in this book, and if you haven't already read it, please pick it up because it is a book of books. I loved it. So I wanted to show you guys just a cute little things that I picked up, bookish things that I thought were cute that I wanted to share with you guys. One of them is this necklace. It says, between the pages of a book is a lovely place to be. And it's a necklace. And it kind of looks like an antique necklace. So I love that. And then these little bookmarks I thought were cute. They're little like leaves. And in keeping with this book about a tree, I thought they would be cute. You just stick them in the pages of your book. So yeah, I wanted to share that with you guys. So thank you so much for sharing this time with me. I love to have you here every week to share bookish things with me. And thank you so much once again. I know I thank you guys all the time, but I will always, because my subscribers keep going up. I thank you so much for hitting that like and subscribe button. It really helps me to know that you like the content that I put out on this channel. So I will continue, and like I said, we're going to be doing a lot of different things coming up. I'm going to be doing the author spotlight next week, so be sure and don't miss that. And you already know that I'm going to be doing this one soon, Betty Smith, because I think she is tremendous. She just, you know, knowing that her book became such a masterpiece. She died in 1972, but growing up, that girl that was so poor in the tenements, if she had only known what she would grow up to write, it's just unbelievable. But yeah, so tune in next week. I'm going to do another author spotlight, and that's a wrap. I hope you guys have a wonderful week. I'll see you guys back again on Friday for another episode of Book It with Wendy. Enjoy your week, and I'll see you later.